welcome to a new edition of Fitz Talk Overtime. It's been a little while, but we are rolling here. We got a lot to talk about. Bret Legassi will be here in just a few, but we got the one and only Mike, the Hebrew Hammer Brown. He is with me. Bret, join us. And of course, everyone in the comments, Kenna, Steve, digging in the trenches. Justin, man, I'm so excited about what Justin and I are working on, what the network is working on with the draft stuff. We got a lot of stuff going on and talking about. Of course, Josh Wingate of Beer and Sports is in the house. Richard, thank you. First off, let me just welcome my brother from another mother, Mike Brown. My man, how the hell are you?
I'm good, man. Working in my business is our busiest time of the year, so it is definitely a good time. And by the way, and I'll repeat this when Bret gets on, but rest in peace to my mentions today. Like, can I get a little break from Twitter? Every time, like, I look at Twitter, it's like 47 notifications, and I just pop in because I don't have a dog in the fight. But good God, like the tweet that got sent out this morning, like if you're tagged in that, I mean, rest in peace to every single one of your mentions. Rest in peace to the Dolphins winning record, but that's a different conversation for, I guess, 10 minutes from now. But
yeah, a few minutes, yeah.
Capital
Life, Evan on vacation tuning in, gotta love it. Dude, I sent I wanted to send a GIF when that conversation was going. There was everybody, but it was, I don't know if you all ever saw Community. When if that's an old series, and the guy walks into the apartment and everything's burning down, I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Beep, back out.
Yeah, no, like I definitely threw in like a couple just like fins up tweets when I was taking a couple sales calls earlier. Or like I just tune in. I'm like, I'm not reading through 76 different notifications. It's so funny though, Bobby. And again, we'll preface this now, but I want to repeat this when Bret gets on. Everyone realizes that we're all on the same team, right? Like we're all like Dolphin fans. Like that's who we are.
Yes.
And the amount of fighting with each other is just
absolutely 1000% agree with you.
Like it's comical. And I'll be honest with you, me personally, I've been through ebbs and flows as a Dolphins fan this year that I really haven't been on in a while. I mean, I went to 4 games this year and we were 4-0 in those games.
And so we are to blame you.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
But I've gone through these like waves of being upset with the team and everything else. But we all come back to, the man who causes 737 notifications. Thanks, Bret.
You're welcome.
But it's like, to finish that up, Bobby, like this is so much fun, Like at the beginning of the year, if I would have told either one of you, and I think I did do this, if I would have told both of you we go into the last weekend of the year with a legitimate shot at the playoffs, I take that.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it's so difficult for people out there to get where Bret is coming from and so many other fans like him. He's a Dolphins fan, and all he wants is what's best for the organization. Now, he has a different plan than other people.
Doubt that.
But what's funny is like, everyone's allowed an opinion, obviously, and I'm never going to tell somebody how to fan.
Yep.
And Bret just has like a different mindset of where he wants this team to go in the offseason. That's all.
What's up, Vito?
It doesn't make you any less of a fan, Bret. Like that's why I didn't understand so much.
I just want Super Bowls. Yeah, I mean it's just it's par from the course, man. It's just how it is. Because I just don't accept like the mediocrity, and I can't do nothing about it. But it's this mediocrity season, mediocre. It's the same shit, different day. And then how many times we're going to say it's this coach's fault? No, Flores was too mean to Tua. All these. Adam Gase was too arrogant. Joe Philbin was too. All right, well then who's hiring the coaches and who's the GM that's been here? Who's the director of scouting since 2008? So it's like it's this front office all the way back since Jimmy Johnson left. We haven't seen an influx of talent. When Jimmy Johnson was here, we at least saw some good talent. But, we don't have, like, that talent. We haven't had that talent. Who's the last elite player we drafted? Xavier Howard. I mean, the rest has not been elite.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I think Jalen Phillips has shown flashes.
He's got to learn a lot of more pass rush moves.
He does.
But he's got the elite potential, so does Holland.
Right. Yeah. And they're there. That's why, I mean, this year, would I fire Chris Greer? You'd have to give me a list of guys, and I'd have to take a look at those guys and see what the options are.
I got names.
Because, yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, Greer did a lot of good things this year with this roster, I would say. But he's been here so long, and it's like, what have you done for me lately? Which is, I get that. I totally understand that.
If you want to get, so a lot of people get caught up, oh, he's done a great job this year. Has he really? Because you take Tyreek away, and all of a sudden it's like, this is pretty much the same shit as last year. Because Edmonds is no better than the running backs they had last year. He wasn't really much of a fit. And then they got Mostert, who Mostert obviously is a fit, and I love Mostert, but again, it was the injury concerns, and they thought of them back, and like I predicted that they weren't going to use him 100%, which is smart. The way they use Mostert, I wish it was just a little bit more because he's such a good back.
100%.
And then that Jeff Wilson was basically, in my opinion, was McDaniel saying, you got to get rid of Edmonds, isn't working out for me. Get me Jeff Wilson. Like Mostert can be what Edmonds is. It's kind of like a double thing here. Get me Wilson, who's my stud, power grinded out. But if you look at this roster, the linebackers are still meh. The pass rush is still They went and traded for Chubb. Look, I liked Chubb, but then you paid him all that money. The dude's never had double-digit sacks, and he's never been healthy for but one season. So, again, another Chris Greer thing where he absolutely loves injury-prone players because of the bargain. Then he overpays them. Emmanuel Ogbah, a player I like, we overpaid him. You know, another guy who doesn't get double-digit sacks. Then we wonder, why don't we have a pass rush? Well, because – the guy who would scheme Ogbah home, and yes, Ogbah, Phillips, all these guys got their sacks from being schemed. They don't like how they get paid more than they should, and then we're in this cap situation where we have predictive -$2 million next year. How long are we going to do this? How long is this going to happen? You know, and I'm allowed to take laps because how many of y'all are like, oh, Bret, 2 of this, well, so whatever. But Chubb is legit, but like. Is he, though? Because he's injury prone. He's a good player, a good edge defender, a good run defender, a solid pass rusher. He's been solid, and I don't have any problem with Chubb. But it's just if you already had a good pass rusher like Von Miller on the other side, yeah, he's good. But like,
can I just say very quick because I see Diggin in the house and Justin, and let me tell you, man, he out of all the comments, he was hilarious. Like the one where he did victory lap and the gif of victory. I laughed, dude. I got all those things, and yes, RIP to my mentions, but I got to give him a little bit of credit. I got to give him his flowers.
It's funny because everybody's saying like, yeah, victory lap, but I mean, like, as soon as Tua like threw 1,000 yards against the freaking Lions, everybody's like, oh my god, Tua's made it. It's the freaking Lions, the 32nd worst pass defense in the NFL, and the adjustments that these teams weren't making, the adjustments that the teams made to stop Tua were very elementary and very simplified to the point where you say, holy shit, like, why hadn't they do this? Why didn't they do this like earlier in the season? And it's like they really didn't do anything crazy, and Tua fell apart. And it was pretty embarrassing against the Chargers. And then he was very embarrassing against the 49ers and Chargers when we have a chance to go first in the conference against the 49ers, which no one's talking about, and they pissed down their leg. Saturday night, primetime, finally shut up the Herbert people like me that we should have drafted Herbert. What happened? Herbert found ways to pick apart and tear apart this defense with his 2 receivers finally healthy and with 2 of his 3 offensive linemen finally healthy. The excuses he doesn't get, but Tua gets, and he tears us up. And Tua falls flat in his face. And then next week, Tua has a couple shining moments, but it's still too little too late against a real quarterback. So once again, here we are. And let
me ask you this, Bret. Let me ask you this, though, about Tua. You're right. Okay, 30 ranked defense, which was the Detroit Lions. He threw, had a great game. Mm-hmm. Baltimore came all the way back, 6 touchdowns. Yes, top 10 defenses. He has struggled this year. Winless in December.
And with Baltimore's struggles this year, it was still a good game for him. Sure. But, even with their struggles this year. But
the one thing about Tua, though, he has answered a lot of critiques and question marks this season with what he's done. With the weapons, he's shown that he could be a successful quarterback. My question for you, or what I'm going to say is, obviously, I guess the next part is, do you not think now, after seeing what you've seen this season from him, and yes, he has struggled against top 10 defenses this year. They are 2-4. On the season. I was looking at that this earlier today. They're 2-4 against top 10 defenses. In December, they didn't win. They lost without him last week still. They're 0-5 in December. but he's answered a lot of questions on his play, on him being a reliable quarterback, starting quarterback in the NFL. The only thing that's the main point now with him is he can't stay healthy in a season. There's always something going on. So, but besides that, are you not leaving this season saying, okay, Tua can be a decent, if you're in your opinion, or a good starting quarterback?
No, I'm at to where he's at best Kirk Cousins. He's not even at Kirk Cousins level. At best, he's maybe Jimmy G, where he's a game manager, and people are going to look at the numbers, look what he did against Detroit and this and that, but look what he did in the first week against Buffalo. Look what he did struggling in the first half against the Bengals. Before he got hurt, he did not look all that great at all. And like Tua is just not like once the defense is adjusted in the second half. Here's the thing: down the stretch, teams turn it on. Playoff football is a different level of football, and turn it on in December is when you need to do it. And it's how you finish. And that's why, like, looking at the team last year, they finished a lot stronger than this year, right? So look at the Packers, the Chargers. They're all getting hot right now. Everybody wanted to write them off early in the season. Now they're getting hot. You know what I mean? And the Buccaneers, everybody's writing them off. Look, they won their division. So it's like, it's how you finish, and how he finished the last 4 games was not good. The Bills game was not a terrible game, and I could actually accept that game being a divisional game on the road, but the weather was actually nicer than people expected it to be. It was actually a good day to throw the football, but like the 2 games before that, he fell flat on his face. And then all of a sudden, where it's like, well, you can't do any wrong, now I can go do it. He's still not showing me enough. It's the same stuff you saw in college. His UGA tape was complete garbage in the SEC championship game. And he got to the national championship game that year, and Clemson punched him in the mouth early, and then he couldn't recover. And then all of a sudden, like the next year against LSU, he fell behind early and then was too little too late. And that's kind of what happened against Buffalo. Even when he has a good game, it's always too little too late. Got outshined by Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. Like, he always gets outshined. And it was just like too little too late for him. And honestly, it's the same thing we saw in college. And I wasn't impressed to call him a franchise quarterback then. I'm not now. I mean, He's good, and you can keep him next year, serviceable to build the roster, then add him. But I'm not picking up his 5th year, and I'm not paying him. You know what I mean? That 5th year, it's a lot to guarantee him for 2024 when he's not getting paid. And I don't even know what the cap's going to be, but like, I'm not guaranteeing that kind of money when he can't stay healthy. And then on top of that, like, he still hasn't proven enough, especially in big games. Like, you showed it against bad teams, but you can't show it against the good teams. And that's what bothers me the most. And the Packers defense is not that great of a defense to be struggling like he did. I know people are going to say the concussion, but Joe Burrow played blacked out and threw 300 yards blacked out.
Gotcha. So let me before we talk about what we want to talk about tonight, what's the main topic, I'm going to let Mike respond. Mike, you got any response to what Brett's talking about?
Well, I think a lot of what Bret is saying is true. I think there is another side to the coin, though. It's McDaniel's first year. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think he doesn't get enough of a pass for me. And I'm not saying I would give him a pass, but he's a rookie head coach, right? Like, that's tough. Like, it's tough for any head coach to deal with what he's had to deal with.
Yeah.
Number 2, you don't have a consistent enough running game. You don't have a Bijan Robinson. You don't have, and I know these guys aren't easy to find, you don't have a Derrick Henry that you can give the ball to 25 times a game. That makes it tough on any quarterback. Like, all the guys you just named. Herbert has Eckler. Aaron Rodgers has Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, who I would give whatever you want to have on this team.
Yeah, yeah.
The defense, I think, Dolphin fans don't talk about enough. Guys like Trill Williams, who I think would have been poised for a massive year.
Yeah.
Brandon Jones. You know what I mean? Like, losing Emmanuel Ogbah didn't help the situation. I think, it also, like, what kind of a year? This is the first time in NFL history. 3-game winning streak, 3-game losing streak, 5-game winning streak, 5-game losing streak. Like, the ebbs and flows of this season have been unlike any I've ever seen with another team ever. With all that being said, I'm totally with Bret. I'll give you a guy, if I can get Derek Carr in this offseason, I go do it. in about 2.5 seconds because that is a guy who's a gamer. Like, it's hard to get that dude off of the field. I'd go get Jimmy G. You know what I like? Even who is the guy y'all would know? I can't. His name evades me. When they lost Trill Williams, who was the other corner that they signed from Minnesota that they lost like 4 days later?
Mackenzie Alexander.
Yeah,
that kind of sucked.
How many times? Like,
but he wasn't that great though. But I mean, like at least he was a body. Better than the special teamers.
Totally agree. But like,
and people got to back off Crossan. Crossan is a special teams guy.
That's my see. You took the words right out of my mouth. Like I've watched every game this season. Having Keon Crossan as a body to be a cornerback for is fine, but he's playing real minutes and he's getting destroyed, and it's not his fault. Christian Wilkins completely balled out this year. Like, pay the man. The other thing about salary cap that I wanted to address, Gesicki gone, Byron Jones gone. There's $30 million in cap space. So like they can create money.
No, they got -$2 million next year without counting Gesicki because he doesn't count for next year.
They can restructure. Good GMs find ways to find money. Like,
why are we doing that? Why are we negative cap space without being in the playoffs this year, having to fight for, and we're not even in control of our destiny anymore. We did control our destiny all the way through the Buffalo game, you know, like, and it's kind of shitty because it's like, why are we fighting for cap space and we're trading a first round pick? That's all we had left. Now we're trading that for, you know, like for a good player. Don't get me wrong, but like,
it's also tough in the middle of a season, to acquire Chubb and ask of him to be the all-world talent that he is. He is an all-world talent because it's hard to get a guy like him, and to get a guy like him, you have to pay him. Like that's the only way that they were going to get him was to pay him. And to be fair, Bret, I don't agree with if you take Tyreek Hill away. I don't think that's a fair argument because you don't have to because you have him.
No,
you have
no,
to pay to get. I'm
talking about the whole like off season. If you look outside of Tyreek, right?
Fair.
What's different about this roster, you know, before Chubb?
Yeah.
And we can say that Chubb was pushed by McDaniel because McDaniel said he's going to push for a pass rusher every damn year.
Yep.
Or every effing year is what he said, right?
Yeah.
So like, and I like that mentality because you can't have enough pass rushers. Buffalo's a pain in the ass because their defensive line is deep and they constantly rotate their guys.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good. Seattle used to they live off of that. So that's something you want. So I love that mentality. But yeah, so like look at the rest of the team. The team talent wise is the same. Cedric Wilson is just like paying Albert Wilson 1 year production. Whoop-de-doo. And now we're paying him all this money. And what's he done all season? Eric Izukama, where's he been? You know what I mean? Our linebackers are subpar, and you know, Tyndall can't even get on the field because he can't learn the defense fast enough. It's always been something mentally. He's always been a step slow. So it's like he showed flash where he can figure it out. He's a talented player, but you know, it's like
but here's for the chat real quick, Bobby, because I know we got other stuff to get to.
The
people who are clamoring for Dayball, like Dayball did this and Dayball did that. First of all, I think everyone's on the same page. The NFC is not nearly as strong as the AFC. Top to bottom, the AFC is the superior conference. Bar none, it's not even close in my eyes, number one. Number two, McDaniel, what he's had to go through this year versus what the Giants have had to go through, it's not even close. And the big X factor to me, Dayball has the offense that he wants to run. McDaniel doesn't have that. McDaniel doesn't have the pieces to do that. The big difference.
Dayball doesn't really have all that many pieces. He has, I mean,
he's got the piece. Like he's got the piece to have a successful team like they want to run. That's my point. They want to play great defense. He has the pieces to do that, and he wants to run the ball, which is what they do best. Not only with Saquon, but Daniel Jones, I believe, leads the league in rushing for quarterbacks. Like that's the guy. That's what he wants to play. I'm not giving McDaniel a pass this year. I'm not, but you can't argue what he's had to go through. That's my point. And he's a rookie head coach for the comments that I've seen about time management. Okay, like that's fine. You want to be angry with him about that. First year head coach. Come on, man. Evan's saying he's the wrong coach for this team. He's so off base with that. It's ridiculous.
Well, part of the reason Dayball turned us down is because he didn't want Boyer as a defensive coordinator. He wanted to bring his own staff in, and this staff was pushed onto the next head coach.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, Dayball said, no, I'm out. like, no thanks. I'll go to the Giants, who are letting me do what I need to do. So, yeah. No, so I like McDaniel, but I think the fans overhype him because of the system he comes from. What a lot of people actually don't understand is the Shanahan system is a good system, but there's a lot of gimmicks to it. And listen to Aaron Rodgers talk about the system and part of his issues with the system early on. He didn't like it at first. Him and LaFleur would argue, and he would tell him, can we stop running motions so we can get some damn rhythm going? Yep. Motions are great, pre-snap, but too much of it keeps the game. Like, you want to get the defense off balance, and sometimes you just want to hurry up and go, and Rodgers likes to hurry up and go. So that's part of the issue there. So, but if you watch the evolution of what they did with the Rams with Sean McVay going from Goff to Stafford, instead of doing all the gimmicky stuff, all of a sudden they just backed off and now they could just run the offense. Something to keep in mind. There's a reason why we run a lot of that. There's a reason we're always running to the end of the time clock, because we're always having to fit stuff in. So there's a lot going on with that.
So I think you're totally spot on with that. But again, I go back to the rookie head coach mentality. He's going to learn. You can't fire your head coach after a year. You know how bad of a look that is in the league?
The only way I do that is if I'm bringing in a GM who's just like, I need my guy. And I don't know.
Who is it, though? Let me ask you that. Let's play this out, right, Bret, for 10 seconds. Let's say you bring in a GM and he wants to bring in his guy. Who's that guy? Who's bringing in? That's better.
We don't know. Like, who does that? Where did that GM come from? You know, who did that GM coach with, or who's coached under that GM? You know, who's somebody they know? Who replicates what they want to build? Maybe that GM is like, look, I couldn't do this here. You know, I want to build this. I want to build a hitch in the mouth. And you know what? Let's go get Harbaugh, or I say, you know, I want to spread it out. Let's get Peyton, you know, or I want to go get, you can even bring in a guy like Frank Reich or whoever it is, you know what I mean? Maybe Dodds from the Colts steps into the GM and say, hey, you know what? I want Frank Reich as my head coach. You know, so it really just depends. It's hard to say, but at the same time, if you're going to bring in, one idea I've had is bringing Adam Peters from the 49ers if they let him go. He's an assistant GM, and just put him in the GM role, and then he already knows McDaniel. So now if he doesn't want McDaniel, then that says something. Now if he wants McDaniel, let him work with them. They know the system. They know what they're doing. They know what they want to build. And then let McDaniel hire his staff and let him decide, do I want Boyer? Do I want Crossman? Crossman's been worse than Boyer, honestly. And I don't know that Boyer has been as bad as people have proclaimed. I still think talent on this defense, the front seven, is still an issue. Even though the secondary has been banged up, but the defense hasn't been that bad. They've given up 19 and 16 points the last two games. The defense has actually been pretty good. The offense has put the defense in some bad spots with turnovers, but the defense hasn't been turning the ball over, or forcing turnovers. But scoring defense, I don't think this defense has done enough to win a lot of these games. It's just it hasn't been giving the ball back enough either. So it hasn't been as dominant, but it hasn't been terrible. It's been like very mediocre. So like nothing's stepping up.
I agree. Evan, Bobby, can you do me a favor and bring that comment from Evan back about losing 5 in a row and wanting to fire McDaniel?
Well, I wanted to fire Flores last year after losing 7 in a row.
See, this is my problem with Dolphin fans across the board. Not just Evan. This mentality of, okay, yeah, he's lost 5 in a row. You're still in a spot to go to the playoffs in his first year as a head coach. So what do you want to do? You want to fire? Like, I'm talking to Evan and all the other fans who have this mentality of having. Yeah, he's had a losing streak. Okay, they happen. Like, I get it. But it's the dogging for that specific reason. Like,
let me just
he doesn't play the game. He's not a player.
No, you're good. I just want to say this.
That's my problem.
It's all fair. It's fair. Now, you know, the thing is, this is something I said at the beginning of the year, and it's kind of playing out now. Now, we'll see how it goes down. We're going to talk about what the tweet was earlier on Finstock Sports Network from Armando Salgado and Outkick.com that got everybody going, and why
clearly
we did. Now
over 570,000 interactions or views.
Yeah, 500,000.
That was holy hell.
Thanks a lot, Bret. Dick.
Hey, the network shared it. I just interacted.
My bad. I know. But you know, my thing is like when Evan says, and I know what Evan's been saying since week 4 because I've been listening to him since week 4, and it's on Fitz Talk.
Great show, by the way. Bandwagon on Tuesdays, phenomenal.
Absolutely. Awesome show with him and Fish Tank. But I will say, first off, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you. You're watching Overtime on the Fitz Talk Sports Network. Smash that like and subscribe button. We are almost at 600, which is really cool, 600 subscribers. So we appreciate you all. Please keep putting your comments in there. We're seeing them. We'll interact when we get on. This is the thing with Mike McDaniel. First off, I truly believe, when the Dolphins had hired him, they didn't have no idea they were going to get Tyreek, and they weren't that they were just rolling. I don't think again, I said this before, so it's no accident. I always try to be consistent. I don't think it was an accident that no other team interviewed Mike McDaniel except for the Miami Dolphins. I don't think it's an accident that was the case. I believe that of course, the reports came out that after Flores was fired, their goal was to bring in Sean Payton with Tom Brady. The Flores lawsuit happens. It doesn't work out. I'm not going to speak on Brian Daboll. I wanted a veteran coach. I wasn't interested in Daboll either. But I will say is that I think that he wasn't their first choice in the first place. I think it was, we couldn't get Deshaun. We couldn't get Brady. We're going to stick with Tua this year. Let's bring in an offensive coach. So it looks like we're helping out our young quarterback, and let's play this year out and see what happens. Nobody knew Tyreek was going to be available. Tyreek becomes available. Chris Greer gets aggressive, makes a play for Tyreek. I don't think the Dolphins had any idea that, first off, with how McDaniel was as a person, how energetic he was, how the fan base was going to love him right away, how the players were going to love him, how he went to the organization and everything else. 8-3. Second seed in the AFC, possibly fighting for the first seed in the AFC. You drop, it's a team of streaks. Evans brought that up before. 3-0, 0-3, 5-0, 0-5. Now you're at 8-8 and on a losing streak to a team that was almost on the top, talking about Super Bowl contender. This team was on the cusp of the playoffs last year with Flores. Now they're on the cusp of the playoffs, or on the other end, hoping it works out that a team loses the Patriots and they win and they do their job. Can we trust them to do their job? He was an exciting coach for a team without Tyreek Hill when the window was a little wider. When you get a player like Tyreek Hill, the caliber of a Tyreek Hill, and the aggressiveness, I know people say they didn't like the Bradley Chubb trade, and I'm a big critic of Chris Greer. It's very nice when you sign superstar players and make splashes and do this, but it's bigger than that. Building a team, you got to create depth. You have injury concerns. A lot of these players are injury prone. How do you prepare for that and have a roster prepared? That wasn't done. So then now people are saying, oh, the reason why the team is struggling because of injuries, which is fair, but all teams go through injuries. Every single team go through injuries. It's how the management prepares for that. In 20 years, that hasn't been the case. I think as soon as they traded for Tyreek Hill, I think that's when it wasn't the right man for the job. It sucks to say. I think that Ross has been looking for a reason to get rid of Tua. Tua lit it up this year. He did. His numbers were there. No one could deny that he impressed, that he was an MVP candidate. We all talked about it. He answered a lot of criticism. The biggest thing was, can he play in the cold? He answered that. Next thing, can he win in December? Didn't answer that. And then, can he last a season? He didn't do that. Which you can't blame him. No, you can never blame a player for getting hurt.
Did he answer if you could play in the cold?
Yeah, did he play against Buffalo? Or are you saying that Buffalo doesn't count?
Well,
I don't know. I wouldn't say it. I don't know.
I think, look, he showed glimpses. The argument is there that the Dolphins have a quarterback problem. They do. They 100% have a quarterback problem. Not only at the starting spot, the backup spot too. Teddy needs to go.
I think they have an organizational problem, because I'm the first one. I said at the beginning of the year they were a quarterback away, because I believe this team has the talent. And when you look at this, if you look at it on paper, has the talent to be a competitive football team. And I said they were a quarterback away. Not that Tua could not be that. Not that he could grow into that. To me, it's more than a quarterback away. There's a lot more issues with this football team. It starts from the top. You're not going to get rid of Ross, but you can. And this is my thing. If you're not going to fire Greer, you do not fire McDaniel. If you're going to fire McDaniel, you better fire Greer too, and vice versa. We can't keep doing this rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat.
And that's the problem, because like if you keep, like, people want to say, well, why do you want to fire McDaniel? It's not really about McDaniel. It's just we fired Sperano, kept Ireland, and Ireland and Sperano were hired together. That's the last time things were blown up and put together. So then, now then you fired Sperano after flirting with Jim Harbaugh, with Sperano still in a contract, and Harbaugh respectfully declined. And then, you fire Sperano, you make it up to him, and you fire him. You keep Ireland, you fire Ireland, you keep Philbin, then you bring in Dennis Hickey, then you fire Hickey or reassign Hickey, and promote Greer and fire Philbin, bring in Gase and Tannenbaum, and it's you're doing the same. You're just half doing it. Then they fire Gase and Tannenbaum, and then Greer brings in Flores, and then Flores gets fired, and then Greer brings. So Greer has had more coaches than he's had playoff appearances.
Yeah, no, and you can't. Well, and you can't have that. And I'm going to end this comment by asking you guys a question. I do have to jet in a few to do some Rocket stuff, but my question to y'all is, for the people who said that there's less optimism now than there was a year ago, I don't believe in that at all. No. Flores and Tua, that was a marriage that would never work. Do I think a marriage between Tua and McDaniel works? Honestly, no. But I do think that the difference between this year and last year is McDaniel. Me personally, as a Dolphins fan, I believe in McDaniel. I think a lot of games this year came down to poor time management. I think that can be fixed. I think they need to address certain positions in the draft and in free agency. I think that can be done this offseason. Do I think that is Chris Greer? No. But I think bringing in a GM that is already aligned with a guy like McDaniel, I think is of priority this offseason. Give McDaniel a guy in the front office that he can work well with, that they are aligned on the type of players that they want to bring in here. Guys that they're familiar with in San Francisco, as an example. But my thing with McDaniel is, I'll ask both of you this question. If this was a guarantee tomorrow, would you fire Mike McDaniel to hire Jim Harbaugh? Sorry.
I don't know. I'm not a huge Jim Harbaugh guy. So I wanted him last year because I figured, hey, he knows he's at least going to have a disciplined team. There's not going to be the penalty issues we had. Right. He's going to play physical smash mouth football. He's going to play physical smash mouth defense. My biggest problem is what happens. So this time of year is when he would succeed, run the ball. But what happens when you get behind, or what happens when you need to throw the football? That's where I don't know. So I would have to who's his hire for offensive coordinator? You know what I mean? That would be my biggest question.
Sure. That's fair. And I see in the comments now, who have the Dolphins beaten this year? They beat Baltimore, a great win on the road. They beat Buffalo. Those are two marquee, phenomenal wins. And it's Detroit
2-5 against winning playoff teams.
That's fair. I mean, but
Detroit, I'm just so those are our only two wins. And even the Steelers win was that was close. The Bears, the Lions, all these games. Your question,
but those are still playoff teams. Though.
I would take Harbaugh, and I would take Peyton. I think a veteran coach. I would definitely, because they've been successful, especially Harbaugh with the San Francisco 49ers. Right. I was all about veteran coaches. I was done with rookie coaches. Now, I'm not against keeping McDaniel, because I think, again, he is a rookie coach. He's made mistakes, but that's the thing. He's a rookie coach. You decide, not you, but the Dolphins decided to hire a rookie coach. He has shown. The problem is, first of all, he's a running guy, but he's not running the ball. To me, I think he's become a prisoner of the talent of the football team, the main talent of the offense, which is passing with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. It's what's the easiest thing? Let me air it out to Tyreek Hill. Right. And guess what? Defenses have figured that out. So it's your turn to adjust to that. What's not McDaniel's fault is he has an owner in this football team who has a very short fuse right now, who people forget. And I said this earlier in the year. Yes, a president of football operations, I'm absolutely for. But he has an owner who has a short fuse right now, because at the beginning of the year, I talked about this. He got embarrassed with the Brian Flores situation. There's the Tom Brady, Scott thing. You got deck draft picks. He puts out the paycheck all the time. They got Tyreek. They did this. They go 8-3. Finally, his prayers are answered. He's going to have a winning football team. The laughing stock is over, all that. And all of a sudden, it goes to crap. When McDaniel was hired, you can ask Evan Posner, you ask Bret, you ask Ralph. I said, dude, I have a David Cooley feeling about this hire. It was a David Cooley situation. You would know, you're in Texas, what I'm talking about. Hire, just eventually to fire. I don't think the Dolphins expected the love fest that was going to go down and all that. But me personally, and now I think just like they were finding reasons to get rid of Tua, this is going to be their reason to get rid of McDaniel.
You can't compare McDaniel to David Culley. And I'll tell you this because
I don't compare them. I compare the situation. What's going on?
But it's not even close, though, to me. I mean, they brought in Culley. Culley was a laughingstock. McDaniel's not a laughingstock. And yes, he did say, measure me in December. And he's fallen short in December. 100%. All of us are on the same page that the Dolphins have not lived up to the expectations of the last 5 weeks. That goes without saying. My point is, if you just give up on the guy, first of all, he's going to get another head coaching job somewhere else. The dude's a stud.
I think he's going to be offensive coordinator first. I think he'll go back to San Fran for a year first, or one of his old coaching.
For sure. First. But eventually he's going to be another head coach.
Sure.
And I'm just throwing this out there that he deserves an offseason from Dolphin fans. Because if you polled every single Dolphin fan, and Bret, I said this before you came on, if you polled every single Dolphin fan at the end of the year, if I asked you straight up, would you be happy if the Dolphins the last week of the year, no matter what are the other circumstances, if it was a win and you're in +1, would you take that for this season? Every single fan would have said yes, is my opinion. Not every fan. I take that back. A large majority of the fans.
I'm not against bringing McDaniel back. Let him choose a new D coordinator. Let him decide if Tua is his quarterback. Just do what it is.
Are you saying it's this one? Like they would need the last week to win to get in.
Like I'm saying, would you take a win and you need one other game, not some crazy 17 games. Like it comes down to the Bills are going to win on Sunday. If the Bills are,
I mean, like I don't know.
I mean, if the Bills are asked to play on Sunday, they're going to destroy the Patriots in honor of their fallen team. Not fallen. Fallen's not the right word. Their injured teammate. They're going to win. Miami's going to win on Sunday. The Dolphins are going – I'm calling my shot right now. Dolphins are going to be in the playoffs. Dolphins are going to the playoffs.
I just can't see Skylar. I mean, they already beat down Skylar once against the Jets, and the Jets' front seven's way better than ours right now. They're deep. But, I mean, Mike White wasn't good last week, and I think we can get after him. But I'm not overlooking these Jets, man. It's like
you can't. You can't overlook them. You know,
I'm not going the other way. I'm not going the other way.
I don't know if I see it, but is it realistic? Yeah, I think it's realistic, but I think also it's also realistic for the Steelers to get in too. So it's definitely gonna be tough. And if they get in, honestly, if they make the playoffs, if they win and make the playoffs, I think honestly that does save McDaniel's job. But if they miss in the playoffs, that's where we start to question everything. And the reason McDaniel was getting thrown in the loop is it was a bad job to take. There was a reason that Kyle Shanahan blocked him from interviewing for the offensive coordinator job with the Dolphins. Kyle Shanahan knew that the Dolphins were not the organization for him. And I feel bad for McDaniel because I feel like it was a bad job to take in the first place. I feel like it was the wrong job for him.
Here's what I'll say, and this is my final note, and you guys obviously do a phenomenal job. You'll handle it without me. Here's what I'll tell y'all is I'm not going to go into this game, guys, saying, and nor should any Dolphins fan, like hoping they're going to lose so they move on from the head coach.
Oh, no. Yeah,
I'm not saying that's what you're saying. And Bobby, I don't know where you're at with your thoughts for this Sunday, but I'm going into this game thinking to myself, this may be the final time we get to watch the Dolphins this year. I don't want this ride to end because you don't know. You win and get in. I'm not saying they're going to go into Kansas City.
Fans, and that's kind of, and I know Cap brought this up, but I think there are fans that the thing is, you could predict a win or a loss, or you can say, man, I just feel this is the way to go. But I think, and I do believe, like Cap has brought it up, and Cap, you correct me if I'm wrong, that there are fans in this fan base that want Miami to lose
100%.
And it's the most atrocious thing. It's the same. That's one thing.
And we don't even have draft picks to really play for. I mean, we got a second and a couple thirds, but I mean,
you just went into Buffalo and played Buffalo tough on the road. You're not going to tell me that they're going to go into that game in Kansas City if they were to get in and roll over. I don't believe it. With the talent that they have, it's top heavy. I get it. They're not going into Kansas City and rolling over. And you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So enjoy this Sunday. Watch us beat the absolute hell out of the Jets SUCK. And let's see what happens. And let's have fun this weekend. I want the fun back. Bret, you gave me fun today. Mr. 912 notifications during the day on the Twitter feed. Today was fun. I love Bandwagon Evan. Y'all are my guys. This is all sports. This is all meant to be fun. It's not supposed to bring your day down or make you feel worse about life because you don't agree with the guy next to you. Exactly. We're here to have fun and talk Dolphins football because that's what we all love. And with that note, fins up forever. Jets, you suck at 642, and the Bills still ain't winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't give a damn what you tell me.
Much love, brother. That's Mike, the Hebrew Hammer Brown, joining us on Overtime as he checks out. Me and Bret Lagasse, stick around. Let me go ahead and do this. Bret, how would you feel if we go and drop a link in case somebody wants to talk about some Dolphins with us?
That's fine, but I want to drop a nugget here, and I'm sure I couldn't do this with Mike, but I just want to put this up here.
Oh, you're oh, no, you did not. Oh, you're such a smart ass. Oh, good to have you back.
I mean, look here. I mean, they went to do it last year, and here's the thing: Greer is not going to survive. There's no way Greer survives. If they miss the playoffs, there's no way. If they make the playoffs, honestly, the silver lining is they miss the playoffs, Greer should be gone, because there's no way you miss the playoffs consecutively for 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 6 straight seasons after making it and getting blown the hell out and then keeping your job. You've had more head coaches than you've had playoff appearances. You have 0 playoff wins, 0 competence in that one playoff appearance. Your team backpedaled. Then you said, oh, it's the vice president of football operations' fault. It's Adam Gase's fault. Get me my guy. I'll prove you I can do it. I'm in lockstep with Flores. We're drafting together. Everything's good. Oh, Flores wasn't good. He was too mean to the players. He wasn't coddling Tua. This is ridiculous. He said mean things, blah, blah, blah. I still think it's all bullshit. I just think Flores was just a hard-nosed coach, and people are saying, like, when McDaniel got there, they're like, oh, this is better. He's more of a people person, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, he's not. He's a football coach. He's holding players accountable. And Greer jettisoned all these players out. He jettisoned Van Noy. He jettisoned Flowers. He signed for a year, then jettisoned them. It wasn't Flores doing that. That was Greer. There's a feeling around the league that this team is toxic. Do you remember Mike Wallace when Tannehill's first year with the Titans was doing well? Mike Wallace said it was never you, bro. It's that toxic ass organization. Dude, I had to find that tweet, but it's just a mindset with this team. And you ask anybody who covered a team, they'll tell you it does have that toxic feel, just the way they run things. It's unorganized. Yeah. And I think it's time, and I agree with people I've talked to before, the issues with this team have been talent evaluations. People don't want to admit it, but our talent is not what they think it is. You remove Tyreek, and all of a sudden this team is as average as it is. Tyreek's our best player, him and Howard, and all of a sudden this team is pretty average, and good players are average. Like it's just not enough, and the core is bad. So I think it's time to like move on and get someone in that front office to clear house. And that's why I do actually think Harbaugh or Peyton might actually come in and clear house and get control of football operations and put their own GM in charge. Because people don't realize Sean Payton actually ran the front office with the New Orleans Saints. He did a lot of that. He did a lot of that control. He had a lot to say with the talent. And so Jeff Ireland and Joe Vitt, I think it was Joe Vitt. I think it was his father-in-law, but anyway, there was a tight relationship there. So like he knew who he was getting and what he wanted like that. And look how much talent was on the Saints. And that's why bringing Peyton, that would change that.
Let me go ahead and let's talk about this Outkick piece by Armando Salguero, former writer for the Miami Herald, who used to cover the Miami Dolphins. So I know a lot of people were critical of him and all that. He had been out there before. I think he's been right on a lot of things. Everybody gets it wrong once in a while. Along the way, but a lot
again, of guys, I just dropped pop with last year. He was right.
Absolutely. I just dropped the link, guys, in the comments. If you want to hop on, talk some Dolphins, make your feelings known on the situation, come join us for the next few minutes. But and maybe talk Peyton Brady. But let's get to what Armando Salguero talked about in his article that I shared on Finstock Sports Network Twitter, which blew up Twitter today.
I love it. Thanks for all the interaction. That was great.
Yeah. You lit a fire. I just walked in. I went, what the hell? But
And we got Hank fired up. It was fun.
Yeah, Fish Tank was on fire today. But questions about Dolphins abound. This is what he has. Miami Dolphins. If they win their season finale and sneak into the playoffs, owner Stephen Ross might look the other way on those 5 consecutive December-January losses because it will feel more like a skid than a collapse. But if the Dolphins go from 8-3 to 8-9 and not in the playoffs, everybody's job is at risk. General Manager Chris Grier made a dozen bold moves in 2022, and taking a step backward and out of the playoffs again was nowhere near what Ross expected. The quarterback Grier drafted is not durable. Bradley Chubb, whom Grier added in a trade, has not delivered. And the many first-round picks Grier had led to one question. Where's the payoff? First-year coach Mike McDaniel is a great guy, but what happened to rallying the team late in the year to stopping the bleeding? And what makes him a better choice than making another run at Sean Payton? If McDaniel survives, there's no guarantee for defensive coordinator Josh Boyer, according to a club source. And then he talks about the Dolphins making a decision on Tua and says something about Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers was misquoted, so I won't read that part. But saying that about Chris Grier and Adam Gase, I think it's all obvious that Boyer is not coming back. Despite what anybody feels about the defense, whether you think it's getting more blamed than not, they're being scapegoated. I think the plan was always to play out this year and then go hire your own defensive coordinator, McDaniel staying or not.
The whole Boyer Crossman thing was always weird. Something doesn't smell right with this. Something's weird. I don't know what it is. Like, it's why, like, was it Ross telling Grier, like, listen, like, you already hired, Flores, like, now you want to fire him? He was your guy. Now all of a sudden you want to fire him and bring in a new coach. Like, what's your deal? But I think part of the reason the coaching search was so hard is because I don't think people wanted to deal with Grier or Ross. I don't know.
Josh Boyer was a Flores guy. I think, again, these just there's no source or nothing like that. It's just my notion of what exactly was going on and what I thought. And I always try to be consistent or what do you call? I try to let everything out there so everybody knows where I stand on things. But I think Boyer, just like Crossan, and even just like our quarterback, they told McDaniel, stick it through. Mm-hmm. See what you can do with these guys. This is our quarterback. This is your D coordinator. This is your special teams coach. Build your offense. And then after next year, if you need to change it up, change it up. So if he
had a guy like Vic Fangio that he was already interested in bringing in, why didn't you let him bring him in? Like, why not bring him in? Because, I mean, he's already a former head coach. He has experience. He's been around the league forever. He's a Harbaugh guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, and he would have got that defense at least playing similar, So, like, I don't know, whatever. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why force Boyer on McDaniel?
Evan, if you're doing that much commenting, you better, click that damn link, get your ass in here. Let's talk some football, man.
Wait, hold up. Evan said to get Bret a Wake jersey. I got 3 of them or 2 of them. I got the Salute to Service Wake jersey and I got the Aqua Wake jersey.
But honestly, and I know about the Jets. Yes, look, I'm not giving up. I haven't made my official prediction. I started looking them up today a lot more.
Yeah,
Miami has already lost to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets are a top 3 defense. Again, Miami is 2-4 against.
Yes.
I don't know where Cleveland stood. A BC Lions one. I don't know where the Browns stood when the Dolphins played the Browns. But they won that game, so it don't matter. Whatever, been 3-4. I don't know where
they were a losing team then.
Yeah, but what was their defense ranked at that time?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I just know that the Dolphins are 2-4 against top 10 defenses. They're going against the Jets, who are the 3rd ranked defense in the NFL right now. They've lost against them already. Skylar Thompson played that game. Teddy Bridgewater started. Bridgewater was out the very first play. Skyler started the rest of the game, had like 150 yards and no touchdowns, an interception.
Ugly.
So
like 30% completion or something like that.
And it's funny you say 30%. I think I was at 30 or 40%. I gave a chance for them to win this football game before I made my prediction, just because it's just, if they win this next game, they're a streaky team. I might feel a lot better about them going into the playoffs, because if they win this one, then maybe they go 3 straight. Maybe they go 2 straight. Maybe they go 5 straight and win it all. Mike Glennon, hell no. But
right,
I know.
Here's the thing, like, the thing is, like, Tua's not coming back this week. It's still
Does Tua come back in the playoffs? If they go to playoffs?
Oh, obviously, I think he'll be back. But it's like, I don't think they're saving him for the playoffs. It almost feels like they almost like, yeah, season's over. It's weird. It just feels like they're kind of like season's over.
About
yeah, just the way McDaniel's talking, it just doesn't. It feels like it's like.
It
almost sounds like he's defeated.
Yeah, I agree, dude. That's
sounds
what we
like he's
about.
defeated. Like
after that press conference, I came away a different vibe with McDaniel on Tua. Like, it's out of his hands. It's done.
Like, it just
hell no! Wingate in the house? What?
No, Josh.
What's up, my man?
Hey, I'm gonna throw something out here since everybody wants to keep talking about Tua, all this and that, right? So, Baltimore completed. So let's go through the season. 70% against New England, rounded up. 72 against Baltimore. So I'm just going to keep going down the list. 72, 57 against Cincinnati, 60 against Pittsburgh. And then 80 against Detroit, 70 against Chicago, 78 against Cleveland. Then we go against Houston, 61%. And then we go against San Francisco, 54. Against the Chargers, 35. I rounded up 36. Against Buffalo, 56. And against Green Bay, 64. So against winning teams, against Cincinnati, against Houston, or not, it's not even a winning team, against San Francisco, the Chargers, he has not completed very good. He has not been very good. Now, he did complete 72% of his passes against Buffalo the first time, but the second time is 56%. So, I mean, he didn't throw an interception, which is good, but I mean, only 234 yards. So while I tell people all the time he did good, he didn't do enough. And I'm sorry, but I just don't – none of that this season has screamed franchise quarterback to me, because when you put the screws to it and it's time to step up, all right, you did it against bad teams, keep it going, build it up, and it's the same old Tua.
Josh, you're full disclosure. First off, host of Beer and Sports podcast on the Fifth Sports Network. Love his show. If you guys haven't yet, go check it out. They were on this morning on the network. But just full disclosure for Dolphin fans who are tuning in, Josh is a Cowboys fan.
Yes.
So he gives an outsider's opinion on the Dolphins. So I'm very excited to have him on. So, man, you're listening to
Josh knows a backup quarterback's got to play. You don't make the playoffs. Wait a minute. Wait.
Right.
They're still in running for the
backup quarterback, left tackle leaves. Like, no problem. I've said it since my very first show on the network. Tua is not a franchise quarterback. He's a guy that can get you to the playoffs potentially, but he's not going to get you anywhere from there. Bret and I have talked about Tua for quite some time, and I still remember the moment I text Bret. It was a preseason game, and I
against
said,
the Bears.
Yeah, and I said he can't throw the ball. It looks like a duck out there. Like, he looks like Chad Pennington. Don't get me wrong, he has a better he's more accurate than Chad Pennington, but he just doesn't look like a franchise quarterback. I remember watching or listening to Kurt Warner on a Zoom call one time, and he said, you need to have the arm strength to make all the plays, and I don't think Tua has that. He said in order to be a quality NFL starter, you have to have the arm strength to make every throw in the NFL.
Where was your mindset? You guys had Diamond State scouting. You did it. You guys used to do that. So you guys have followed college football. You know what we're doing on the network, that we're doing draft coverage, stuff like that. But you guys were obviously paying attention when he was coming out. I've talked to Bret before about my view on him before the draft, during, after. What was your mindset on Tua coming out of the draft?
I honestly can't even remember where I was on Tua. I remember the big concern was his legs and trying to figure that out and going from there. I didn't know what to think. And I know Bret was big on Herbert. And I wasn't sure about him. Bret was like, no, you're missing this. You're missing that. You need to. And who's the guy on YouTube you always can refer back to?
Oh, JT O'Sullivan.
Yeah, and you're like, just watch that. You'll figure it out on Herbert. Who else was in the Tua class? Because I feel like I was big on the other person.
Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love.
I was big on Jalen Hurts. That was my guy. That was my guy in the whole process.
Jalen Hurts, what got me with him is his mental, like you can't coach it. I'll always refer back to his Baylor game, the Pac-12, Big 12 championship. He put him behind with fumbles and turnovers. But you look on the sideline, it wasn't like droopy or it was just kind of like calm, settle. And it was like stoic. And it was all of a sudden he leads them back to win. And it was just like, I like that. And he was behind Tua the whole time and supporting Tua. And he never said, screw this, Tua's starting, I'm leaving. He waited a year, then talked with Saban, and Saban's like, we're going with Tua next year too. So, like, what do you need to do? And he ended up transferring. So, it was just a class act kid. And it's just like, you can't teach the way Jalen Hurts handles himself like he does.
Yeah. And I'll always have a little disdain for Tua just for the fact I'm a Georgia fan too. And I just hold that one championship game so closely because I thought we had one. I thought we had it, and we didn't. But I just don't think Tua and the way the Dolphins are set up contract wise, you have a lot of bad contracts. You also have no draft picks, and then what are you going to do? You're not going to be able to build a team around this guy even further, and then give him a large contract and say, here you go, figure it out.
Yeah, and then he's still
not
got
the kind of
Wilkins
quarterback to
coming
do
up.
that.
Well, Wilkins, I think they already did his 5th year, right? Or no? Yeah, so Wilkins got to get paid. So, you don't have the money to pay him. And we got $75 million in 2024 or something like that. Projected. It could change, but yeah. I'm with you on that one.
I just think a lot of bad contracts. And not knowing what you're going to get out of Tua this year, the contract screwed you over, in fact, of taking you completely out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes.
Yeah. And I mean, what do you do with Aaron Rodgers? Or he might be available, or Tom Brady and Sean Payton. What picks do you have to do this? And I don't know. See, I don't know if he had the great arm because you saw a lot of the receivers. You saw Ruggs and Waddle and Smith. You saw them kind of slow down and wait for the ball a little bit. And yeah, they're fast. And one thing that you see him with Tyreek is he learned to kind of speed up his process. And that's something you do with fast receivers. You do have to speed your process up to be able to hit them. But he never really had the arm, so he had to speed the process up. Whereas a guy like Herbert can go through the motions and still rip one to the receivers deep, like Mahomes. Those guys can do that. He doesn't have the arm to do that.
No, and you've seen Tua miss a lot of passes this year. As far as I remember the one to put the game away with Waddle. I forget who it was against. And I remember he just underthrew it. Waddle had a straight touchdown and just missed it.
Yep. That happens a lot. And of course, we can go back. We can say, okay, the Braylon Sanders one, is it the receiver, not getting flat too much, which that does happen with Waddle. Sometimes he'll flatten out a little bit too much, but it happens. But at the same time, you look at it, you're like, is it a receiver? But a lot of times it just happens too often. It's his arm. It's just not that great. And the thing is, Philip Rivers was very limited, in his career, but he knew what the defense was doing. He'd just pick you apart. He was arguing back and forth with linebackers. Linebackers like, dude, how the hell did he know?
First off, let me just clarify, because I do 1,000 things at once. I am
okay. If I put you to sleep, it's fine.
No. You guys are rolling. There's the next show after this is No Holds Barred at 9:00 Eastern. And I am working on setting up their show so they can be ready to go as soon as we end. So Evan could kiss my ass. I'm just trying to do. You guys do you.
Whoa. No Holds Barred's in an hour. Not now.
I know, but they're just trying to get their stuff set up.
So I would go back to what I talked about with Tua with his big games. That championship game against Georgia, he did throw 3 touchdowns, but he completed 58% of his passes.
Didn't he? Or did he throw 3? I just remember him coming
3.
In at the end of the game, and
it was that. Yeah, he did throw 3, but it was that one is what everybody remembers, where it was just a terrible coverage call or the corner did the wrong thing. It was an easy throw, but anyway. So the next year, as a starter against Texas A&M ranked, he completed 73% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Great game. But then a couple weeks later against Missouri, he only completes 54% of his passes, but he did throw 3 touchdowns. Fast forward against LSU. Oh, now he only completed less than 60%, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Against Mississippi State, he did pretty good. It wasn't until Georgia that he completed 40% of his passes for 164 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I think against Oklahoma, he rolled over that bad defense, almost 90% of his passes. I think against Clemson, it was 64.7% of his passes, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. However, the 2 interceptions, I think, came in the first half. And I believe in that game, he only had like 100 and some yards in the first half and only completed like 50% of his passes. And it took him in the second half. So again, too little, too late, as like per the usual with him. It's like his numbers are good at the end, but it's like it's too little, too late where he's playing catch up.
Yeah.
It's just a common theme. Like against LSU his last year when he lost that game, like 52%. But he did throw 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. But he just like that was kind of like the Buffalo game this year where he did throw almost 300 yards and he did have like a solid game. But it's like it was just too little, too late. Well, it was 2 touchdowns, 234 yards, but it's like it wasn't enough. But that I don't know.
So outside looking in, Josh, I know we're talking Tua here, but I've seen a lot of football fans who are not Dolphin fans from 49ers to other teams that are struggling, teams that want to fire their coach or have a fired coach. They say, man, if the Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel, they're idiots. We should go hire him. We should do this, that, and this. Where do you stand on the outside looking in that if you're the Dolphins, or what's your opinion on Mike McDaniel? Would you blame them for firing Mike McDaniel, or do you think they would be stupid to fire Mike McDaniel?
I think he'd be stupid. The way he has turned this offense around, the way he has – I mean, he has growing pains. Every first-year coach has a growing pain, a head coach, what have you. They're all going to have growing pain. And in my opinion, he has to be the head coach going forward. I don't know how you move with the performance that you have, the injuries that you've had on this team, and not give him an opportunity to keep moving forward. I think you have to move on from Greer. I think
for sure.
The position he has put this team in for the future and now is just awful.
No,
hold on. Here's the thing.
And I agree
Evan, my first show was blasting me, saying how great this offense was under Tua, how great this was. And now he's saying what offense? What is this? I feel like just doing like a rewind.
No, hey, I've called the
episode.
FBI. I've checked the check-in on Evan. I'm worried about him. He has totally flipped on McDaniel and Tua.
In my absence, I'm like, you guys are telling me what Evan's saying. I'm like, that's not Evan. I don't believe you. I need Evan to hold up the newspaper from today's.
He has said that people should realize when he has said that Bobby. This is how he said it. Bobby, when he believed that me and Bret were right. That's when people should take him seriously. Well, he's willing to accept.
I do want to know.
It's not about
there. I got blasted being a Dak Prescott fan. Would the Miami Dolphins take Dak Prescott right now over Tua?
Bret? I don't know. I mean, like, I don't see why
Would
not.
You?
Because if it's McDaniel, I mean, yeah, because he loves athletic quarterbacks. And my biggest gripe with Dak is the same gripe I have with Tua. He's been injured. And he's missed time, and that's like been the biggest thing. And you see,
I agree with that.
Up until this year's the first year without him that they actually succeeded. But every time Dak went down, the team struggled. But then when Dak comes back in, all of a sudden they're a different team. But like, I mean, this is the first year they didn't. But I mean, he's done. But you could tell, like, the one thing I love about Dak that people don't credit enough is he's the signal caller at the line of scrimmage. He's reading the defense at the line of scrimmage. He's getting them in and out of the huddle. He has command of the huddle, and that's what not enough people talk about that with Dak Prescott.
And he has the same thing that you mentioned with Hurts, and that's why I liked Hurts so much. But people aren't mentioning since Dak Prescott has came back from his injury, we have the number one offense and the number one third down conversion offense in the league. So
yeah, and I know they said he's leading the league in interceptions, whatever, since he's been back, whatever. I don't really care. But
7 of those were off the receiver's hands.
Yeah, I was about to say 2 of them. I just watched the one the other night was off the receiver's hands against the Titans. So it's like I don't really care about that. But like you can't make an omelet without breaking a couple eggs, right? Brett Favre was the leader in interceptions in his career. He still might be, but at one point he broke Dan Marino's career passing touchdown record. I mean, I think it's been broken since, but like, like you can't. I get being safe. Like Tom Brady's one of the rare few that has that really lopsided touchdown interceptions, but like Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions. It's okay. Like it's fine. Like, but Dak carries a team. He's very important to the team. Sometimes his interceptions are untimely, but he's been a good quarterback. And again, the mental aspect, if Tua could step that up, I'd actually feel a lot better about it because it's when the defense adjust.
I feel like he has though. Do you not think he's developed mentally through the years?
No, not really, because
I think he reads the defense better than he did when he first got here. I think he's making quicker decisions. I think he's making quicker decisions than he did.
Well, yeah, but what he's not doing is taking what the defense is giving him. Like you watched Herbert against us. All he did was dink and dunk us. And he did what Rodgers does. He'll dink and dunk. He'll take his backs. Watch Rodgers. When Rodgers is hot, he'll just throw it to his backs. And if you watch him back in the day, he did the same thing. And then when the defense starts creeping up, all right, you want to throw your backs? Will come up. All of a sudden, he's hitting you deep. A lot of great quarterbacks do that, and he's not doing that. He's not like going with the flow, and he panics when the linebackers started dropping back, taking the angles of the slants and the curls away. All of a sudden, now Tua is like, shit, it's not there. Now what? And then he tries to go back to something, and then he's going back late, and he goes back over the middle late. He's been better, but nowhere near enough, in my opinion.
Let me do this very quick because I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You guys are watching Fins Talk Overtime on the Fins Talk Sports Network. You could subscribe. We appreciate you all. Almost to 600. We got the one and only Bret Lagasse is back in the house. And of course, Josh Wingate of Beard Sports Podcast.
It's been a while, Josh.
Let me say, Tailored Fitness Atlanta, thank you, man, for tuning in. We appreciate you. Let me read off what he's talking about. Greer, let's see. Greer brought them talent. McDaniel can't win with the talent. I don't see how you fire Greer and not McDaniel. This team was 9-8, but Greer brought in more talent since they fired Flores. Every team has to deal with injuries. This has never been a reason to keep a coach. The Colts fired Caldwell after Manning went down a year after they went to the Super Bowl. I
can't argue that too much there.
Yeah. Oh, we got another gentleman in the house. Let's see if he pops his head, and I'll let him in.
Hey, well, did you see what Taylor Elsie said? He goes, this injury argument is just an excuse. The NFL is not acceptable scapegoat, and I 100% agree because you look around the NFL, the 49ers are like gutted with injuries, and look what they're doing. The Chargers have been like their starting offensive line. They've had one of their five starting offensive linemen together at one. Like it's been, their two tackles and center have been healthy together one time. And they've been battling that. Their receivers are in and out of the lineup. So, but look where they're at. So the Ravens, they've been banged up, and look where they're at. So it's like teams do deal with injuries, and you have to step up. But talent, to me, is still a problem with the Dolphins. That's where I will disagree with Taylor Fitness a little bit. I agree that there's some better pieces in place than last year, but to me, it's still not enough. And I can agree with like McDaniel hasn't done enough to overcome it. Because here we got Josh Wingate, who's a Dallas Cowboys fan, and he could tell you the Dallas Cowboys have had some injuries. They've been banged up, and their quarterback was hurt, and yet they still locked up the playoff. And there's right now, it's coming down to the wire for that division. And the Eagles are still in the division after losing their quarterback. So it's like
we've lost a lot. We've lost our left tackle. We've lost our center, our right tackle. We've lost 3 or 4 secondary players. Mm-hmm. We keep going down, but they still figure out a way to win. My question would be, it's not about the talent that Greer has brought in. He has not set this team up for success in the future. And that's where I start to have a problem with Greer. Yeah. Draft picks. Yes, one of those is on Ross that we won't get into, but one of those are on Ross. And then you have a luxury trade, Bradley Chubb, who gets hurt all the time. And injuries are part of football. I'll give you that. But if he doesn't play 75% of this time, this is a failed trade because now you're almost looking at, and I mentioned this on the Beer and Sports podcast today. What's Tua's future? How many concussions has he had? We saw Luke Kuechly get out of the league after what, 4-3? Yeah. So we don't know what's up with
confirmed 2, arguably 3 concussions. Because then they said the first one was
Tua
back.
or for
Tua. Tua.
Say it again.
Is it only
It's
that?
two?
I thought he's had like 4.
2 confirmed concussions, and then there's a third argument because the first one
Well,
they said it was a concussion first, and then they said it was his back. So
well, he
arguably
wobbled
3,
and fell,
confirmed
dude.
2.
I honestly, he wobbled
He
and
says
fell,
3.
and I think it's 3, 2 confirmed. But he had one when he hurt his hip too.
What's up, God Soldier?
So I don't know if you guys know that or not.
So, with what we saw recently, with the health in the NFL, with what we've seen with Tua on the field, that was the first scary thing to happen on the field in the NFL this year was Tua.
Yeah, that scared the hell out of me. I felt bad for him.
The way he postured and everything, that was scary.
Well, the way he got whipped.
Woo, that's bright. Whoa, something's shining off your
Sorry.
I'm just messing with you, Steve.
We don't even know what
I don't know what to do. I'm on my phone, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we don't know what the future of Tua is right now. And going forward, you made a luxury pick for Chubb when you possibly could have used that for a quarterback of the future of this team.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Before I get to that part there, let's welcome Steve Malloy of Real Talk Finns Talk. You want to hop on? Brother, you're hearing what they're saying. What's your response?
Well, Bobby, you know I'm a Tua advocate, so no.
Lies.
No, I like the conversation. This is a conversation a lot of us Dolphins don't like to talk about, and that's Tua. And look, I was a big Tua advocate when we first drafted the man. I liked him. And I've got a sample size now of 3 years of watching this guy play, and there's no doubt, he's made some improvements this year. But has he really? Because I feel that Coach McDaniel, I think he's devised and designed this offense specifically for Tua's limitations. And what I mean by that is what he did is, look, Tua can't read, but beyond, he can make maybe one read, maybe 2 reads, okay, and that's it. So what McDaniel has done, instead of having 3-4 reads, what he's done is he's given Tua options. He's given him 2 options. He's broken it down to 2 options, and that way when Tua goes back and he looks to the right, he looks to the left, but he already knows where he's going. And then he throws the ball. It's all timing. And if you knock his timing off, like Bret said, he panics. And he freaks out. He doesn't know what to do.
Let me there you go. Josh was just letting us know that he had to hop off. Go be dad
sure.
for a little bit. So we appreciate him hopping on. But go ahead, Bret.
Bye, Josh. I miss working with you.
Well, he's with us now. You get to work with him again.
I know.
So, what's your take on that, Bret?
I mean, you're right. So his reads were always predetermined before, and then he's slowed down on that, and he's done a lot better. But at the same time, when you take the quick read away, now he has to process it, and that's where he starts to struggle, and that's where things start to hurt him. And then, you'll see, if you notice at the end of the games when it's kind of like, screw it, let it fly, all of a sudden he's comfortable letting it fly. It's like, if you could do that early in the game, you're good. But he kind of reminds me of Fitzpatrick in that sense where he's really inconsistent and up and down a lot. And that's really what bothers me with him. It's in big games and big moments, he doesn't show up. So it's I want to see him show up more. I want to see him step up and pick the defense apart, take what the defense is giving them. Dink and dunk is okay because if the linebackers. So what I want to see, how the defense has been attacking them, they've just been taking the angles away. They've been dropping linebackers in coverage, and they've just been taking all the angles. So it's tighter windows, and he knows he doesn't have the arm to make these tight windows, which is fine. But your backs are bleeding out. And you got Mostert, who has shown to be a weapon, who has shown to run after the catch. Jeff Wilson, these guys can run after the catch and, get the ball to, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Bobby, your guy, your fullback, Ingold, get him the ball, throw to these guys. Of course, he had a freaking cast on the other day, but get him the ball and get these guys in space, and then all of a sudden the defense will start creeping back up to kind of stop that, to slow that down. And all of a sudden the angles start opening up. Now you're hitting Waddle on the crossers, on the slants, on the deep post.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you're hitting Tyreek on these, and now all of a sudden you're creating some issues that are going to, like, the defense, like, oh shit. If you remember, Breeze threw to Kamara and his running backs a lot. And you remember Darren Sproles. He used Darren Sproles a lot. And that actually got them guys to come down a little bit, and then Breeze to hit them deep. So, but he's not doing that. Philip Rivers used to do that. Like, it was just to draw that defense up just a little bit to say, shit, we can't keep covering these guys. These backs are killing us. They're crushing us on these yards. And Andy Reid has always said, Mike Holmgren has always said, the short passing game is an extension of the run game. So when people are blasting McDaniel for not using his backs, he is. The backs have actually bled out quite a bit to show, hey, I'm open. They're just sneaking out. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by that. Like, they're chipping, which our backs do a good job at, and then they get out in a route.
Let me just say something real quick, because I don't want Liz put a comment earlier, and I see you guys, and I apologize because I'm focused on these guys, and I'm trying to keep up with all of you, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. You're watching Fins Talk Overtime on the Fins Talk Sports Network. Smash like and subscribe. You can also support the channel. First time I'm doing that, but you could Venmo Bobby Finstock or $ Bobby Finstock. Hate doing that, but starting to do that so we can help support the channel. But Liz says, what are your guys' opinion about Mike Glennon being a Dolphin? I don't have much confidence he will help our team according to his stats. Let me just say first, for me, I have no opinion. He is there as a body. He's backing up Skylar Thompson. The only time you should worry about it, which I guess it's fair to say to worry about it because none of our backup quarterbacks have stayed healthy, is if he actually has game time. Shocker. But yeah, so yeah, if he comes onto the field, I'm not very excited. No. Obviously, I would be a little more like, okay, that's it. But I have no real opinion because he's just there to back him up this week. And if next week the Dolphins somehow win, Patriots lose, Dolphins go to the playoffs, he's off the team. Back to the practice squad, off on the roster.
I'd rather see Cedric Wilson have to play. I mean, yeah, like, I'd rather go to Wildcat, but yeah, okay. I don't know. I'm not really sure why Mike Glennon of all, like, I don't know who was available. I mean, I thought maybe there was a guy that, you know, that McDaniel and them coached or somewhere. I don't know. I thought there might have been something, but
well, it's one good thing he doesn't get hurt. at least what I've seen, you know, as far as his injury history is concerned.
No, so we didn't guarantee him $7.5 million for a guy that's had nothing but injury history. That's cool.
No,
that's what we keep doing. That we keep guaranteeing these backup quarterbacks money. It's killing me. And that, like, yeah. What did I say, Bobby? Like, remember when everybody kept asking me, "Are we going to keep 3 quarterbacks?" And I said, "Well, you have to because Tua's injury prone." Teddy Bridgewater's injury prone. Like, we're seeing why they kept Skylar Thompson. You know,
you're being negative.
It's just like that's why you have to do it. And so that they had a plan for, but at the same time, so buddy of mine and I were talking. Like, Skylar Thompson was.
Hey, I got to pop out of here, guys. I'm sorry, but hey, thanks for letting me come on. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us.
You guys got a great show tonight, and I appreciate you, Bret. You always got some good knowledge to share with us all. So appreciate that.
I appreciate
you. Thanks again, brother. All right, brother. Take care.
Easy,
out here. Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, anybody, you guys are welcome to join us. We got a few more minutes. So if you want to talk some Dolphins, Vito, Santos, everyone, Evan, you're still on there. Come on, give us your 5 minutes of Dolphins stuff. What you think? Tell you how much you love Bret while he's still here on the show. But let me just say, it's all been good takes, and I think it's fair. I like what Mike brought up at the beginning. You know, you can't tell nobody how to fan. Mm-mm. You know, I think I can't stand that stuff. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. If fans are upset about what the team is doing, because guess what? Oh, you weren't saying this during 8-3. Well, the fact of the matter is, you were pumping your chest at 8-3. A lot of people were. I love Evan to death. Again, a brother from another mother, in my opinion. You know, but I remember he asked me here, Bret, during that win streak, during the 8-3 season, was I, after the Bradley Chubb and Jeff Wilson trade, was I ready to apologize to Chris Greer? And I said, and quoting the late, great Kobe, is the job finished? Is the job finished?
Nope.
No, the job's not finished. I'm ready to apologize. Let's see what happens. And so far, guess what? Job's almost finished, and now from 2nd seed, we're the 8th seed or 9th seed. I don't know where
we old Dolphins.
And you know, so until otherwise,
look, I didn't hate the Bradley Chubb trade. I actually was excited about it. I liked it. Then I saw we gave a first and the fourth.
I didn't mind the Bradley Chubb trade.
Then I'm like, then we saw how much we paid him. Like, oh my God, why are we paying him so much money?
When he made that move, to me, that was he's never done that type of move where we know this guy's struggling in Chase Edmonds. We got to move on from him. Jeff Wilson.
Again, I liked because, hey, you know what? Edmonds was the wrong pick. We're not going to hang on to him. Move on and let's go get Jeff Wilson. And I was fine with that because Jeff Wilson fit the move. So I don't know. But I agree with Josh. What he just said is the trade was the Chubb trade was a luxury trade. And he's right. We were not a Bradley Chubb away. So, I mean, I like Chubb. I like the fact that, like, if McDaniel needs to hire a defensive coordinator, you have someone like Chubb, someone like Phillips, someone like Holland that someone can be excited for. Oh, hey, I get to work with Xavier Howard. I get to work with Javon Holland. I get to develop, Phillips, maybe help him reach his potential. I had Bradley Chubb. I have Wilkins. I have Raekwon Davis. I have some pieces in place that I can make this work. And I get that. But at the same time, it's like, again, it's more of he doesn't stay healthy. And I like Emmanuel Ogbah, but are we going to have to move on from him with the cap situation? And that's where, that's now we have Emmanuel Ogbah, who I like, but it's like, is he worth all the money we paid him? So you see New England, how they have guys like Ogbah. They have guys like Chubb. They have guys like that are like, because they have Judon, right? But they're like solid players. They're good players. They do their job. They play good defense. Nothing spectacular, but they do their job. And they do enough to win football games, but their offense is falling short. But when their offense is on, all of a sudden that they win football games, that's kind of what like the Dolphins have, but they pay them way too much money. And that's part of their problem.
Yeah. But it's the same ingredient. And again, I see Taylor up there, and I know he was talking about Greer, but it's the same thing. Greer's been there for 20 years, and it's always overpaid, injury prone. And I liked the Chubb trade. I did. I thought it was a win now move. I thought it was a move to help the team because they were in that hunt. They were hot at that point, and they knew, hey, we need help at edge rusher. We need help at running back. Yep. They made those moves. Now, yeah, you can criticize the contract, but it wasn't. To me, it was a move saying, okay, I could see this team moving ahead. But then now you're 8-8. Right. You're on the brink of elimination, and now you got to deal with this cap wise. What does that mean? Does that mean we move on from Ogbah? Does that mean we move on from Xavier Howard? What is Well,
let's look at Chubb real quick. He played his rookie year. He started and played all 16 games. Next year, he played 4. The year after that, he played 14, and then he played 7. So you see the trend. This year, he's played 15. This is the first game he's missed. Second game he's missed. So I won't count that game against him only because that was during the trade, and he was deactivated just for that. So I won't count that against him. That didn't matter. So he got like an extra bye week, but he is he's a good player. The injury concerns, yes. He did miss, but he should be back this week. So, again, I think you could win with Chubb, but I'd be really excited with Fangio and Chubb. That would
let me just say too, because
that would give me a Chubb.
Taylor, it's awesome, man, that you're commenting in here because it's we want to respond to everybody. But you said if Chubb had 6 sacks, everyone would like the trade. I think that's fair. However, I think that's people that do that is not really paying attention to everything else that's being done. I think he offers more than just the stats. That's why a lot of people were hating on Sue. Sue did so much more for the Dolphins to just pad stats. He opened up lanes for Cameron Wake and the other guys. It's the same thing that he's doing for Jalen Phillips. We want to see that, but I knew it was going to take longer for Chubb to adjust and to get numbers when I wasn't the biggest fan of the Chubb trade from the gate. I'd rather have a lottery first. But then Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson was going to play better. He had a bigger impact right away, a quicker impact because he knew the playbook. He knew Mike McDaniel compared to Chubb, who's coming into a new defense and he's just there to pass rush and open up lanes for other guys. So I think we'll see a better version of Bradley Chubb next season than we were going to see this year anyway. That's just my opinion.
Now, this year he has the second most sacks of his career with 8, 5.5 in Denver, 2.5 in Miami. I will agree it's misuse by Miami. People are not.
Fangio will know how to use them.
I like Sealer. I like Zach Sealer.
Yes,
I like 100%. Wilkins. I like Davis. However, this system just doesn't work for those pass rushers and those D linemen. It just doesn't work. So Taylor, I don't actually hate the trade from Greer. I hate the fact we gave up a first when we already lost one and paid all that money. That kind of it stings and it makes it hard moving forward. Let's see. But here's my problem where this is the biggest problem I have with the Chubb trade. The stats are like he had 12 sacks in 2018. Who played opposite of him in 2018?
Guys, Bret
Von Miller.
Best beard.
So
he straightens it. He has a straightener.
Yeah.
He takes care of that.
So yeah, I can go my routine sometime. I use the whole teaser air dryer.
I just go in the morning. I put my little thing. I comb it. Smells good. It's soft.
I don't even do the oil and stuff. I do that stuff.
That guy, that's like an iron.
Wash everything.
He listens to freaking Beethoven as he's doing it.
My wife does the hair. I do my beard. I'm straightening my beard. That's the whole problem. No, but like Chubb, the injuries, man, it's again Greer staple. The injuries, that's my biggest problem with Greer's moves. Like it's always injury prone guys or guys that produce like 1 year. I understand. Hey, Cedric Wilson had 1 year production. I want to go ahead and try to sneak him in for agency. Everybody's going overpaying for Christian Kirks. I'm gonna go ahead and get a Cedric Wilson. Okay, but then we overpay him. Like, what are you doing? So it's like that's my biggest. The Albert Wilsons and all that. Like his free agency has been bad. His offseason moves have been bad. Trades, honestly, if we're going to grade Chris Greer fairly, the worst thing for him has been signings, free agencies. I think it's been just subpar. And then drafts. Drafts have been subpar. His trades, I'm going to say his trades have been solid, good. You know what I mean? Like he's got good value out of trades. He's also got something for nothing quite a bit. So
that's
what?
Great. Oh, I'll pop that back on there.
I shave it. It's there. Look, I just shaved this a couple days ago. Look how much hair is there. Everybody watching that, please don't ever take your hat off again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we just lost 10 viewers of that.
Oh, it's good to be back, Bobby. It's so good to be back.
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
I've been in such a good mood lately. Everything's going good. Got my home life straightened out. No, we're good to go.
Thank God, brother. It's good to have you back.
I'm sorry for the absence, guys. It's been hell lately. So I've been dealing with some stuff, been trying to get myself taken care of. So I know it's not October anymore, November, whatever it is, whatever month mental health awareness is. But yeah, make sure you're taking care of your mentals, man, because it's serious. Like it's with situations. Take care of your family. And honestly, I love talking football with you guys, and it's fun. But the thing that's opened my mind up this last 2 months has been football is entertainment. It's fun.
Yeah.
And talking on Twitter today is kind of like it was fun, and then some personal shots happened, and I'm not taking nothing personal. I don't care. But like, man, it's football, it's entertainment. Let's enjoy it. Let's not go at each other. Let's not try to strangle each other. Let's have fun. Bobby and I have a good laugh all the time. Evan, who always like listens and gives us shit. We just have fun with it, man. And just remember that football is entertainment. Your family always comes first. Everybody comes first. Just people in general come first, man. So like just enjoy it. It's entertainment, man. That's why we're here. That's why we laugh and smile, man. So I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for all the support. So but I'm back, I'm here, and I got my beer.
And we're just happy to have you back, brother. I've said before, you were the one who helped encourage me to start this network, and that's why I always tell you, when you need to do your thing, brother. I got your back. You don't need to be here 24. None of that. So I, how much I appreciate you. I got love for you. I know the guys do. Cap for life in the house, man. That dude is great,
Cap,
man.
always.
Cap, always. He's been on the show a couple times now, man. He's been great. I'm praying for his Dolphins' health.
But we can't leave out Mrs. Fins up though.
Miss Fins, no, I was on her show this week. She's been awesome. She's the one who's been telling me, she was like, hey, she, huge supporter of her channel. She's a huge supporter of ours.
One of the most open-minded people you'll talk to when it comes to things. Like she'll have a take on something, then you talk to her and she'll just, wait a minute, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
And then she'll like look at it it's fun to talk to her because like her mind's always like moving around like in a good way.
That's why I love doing
wait
this.
A minute, like, hey, that's a good idea. And then all of a sudden she's hitting you in the next show thinking from that perspective. Like, man, she has a really good ability to look at different perspectives.
That's why I've said it before too. It's one of my biggest things. Obviously, I love talking Dolphins. I love talking sports. But the greatest thing that I love about doing this, guys, and Bret knows this, is I love interacting. We don't always have to agree with each other. And I'll never talk down anybody that has a different opinion. I will go at it if you put words in my mouth and bull BS, blah, blah. But, I like when, because that's the same for me. If I hear something that I've never heard before, like Evan and I could go back and forth on post game. We go at it sometimes, not lately, but we do go at it. And but again, opens it from another point of view. Miss Fins is the same way. Miss Fins and I, we were there for an hour on her show the other day, and we stayed on for another hour after, talking football, talking other stuff. She's a great person. If you guys haven't gone to go like her channel, go ahead and do so. DolphinsThirsty.com as well. Another friend of the channel who has a show on our network. It's just been great, and it's just awesome to have you back here. We're going to talk Dolphins. We got a lot of cool draft stuff coming up. I'm going to fill you in on all that as well.
And don't worry, Huddle Up and Wait's coming back. The two bearded veterans are coming back.
Two grumpy old men.
Doing one tomorrow. We're going to recap a lot of stuff, talk around the league.
Yes, it's going to be great, man. It's a fun time. And again, guys, if you haven't yet, smash that like and subscribe button. I consider everyone who tunes in each week, you don't have to be on the show to be a part of the Fins Talk Network, Sports Network. I consider all you guys a part of the family. When I see you, I know you. I talk about you after the show. I have a Cap for Life, Hammer Time, everyone here. Liz now. I see Liz a couple times, Miss Fins has been on. Bobby predicted 13-3-1. No, I did not, Evan. You know better. Evan, don't do drugs. Yeah, just Santos, just But guys, man, let me just thank you all for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you. Smash that like and subscribe button. Bret, any final words before we move forward, my friend?
No, honestly, man, I just hope that they, leave it all out there against the Jets, man. At this point, you have nothing to lose. What are you going to lose? You know what I mean? Like, just put it all out there. Just come out with a hell of a game plan, hit them in the mouth, come out with energy, and let's go. And then if you lose it all, whatever, man. I kind of hope like McDaniel kind of sees the information. It's like, you know what? Shit, my job could be on the line. Let me just coach like it. Let me just coach like I want to lose my job, or like, you know what I mean? Like, just go out there with nothing to lose. Like, screw it. We miss the playoffs. We're out anyway. So at least you're going to do it right. And at the end of the day, I still think that the problems are in the front office. They are in the scouting department. So I think it's time to change that. And I think hopefully we'll see changes if we miss the playoffs. So I really think it's just spinning our wheels at this point. And no, I don't blame McDaniel for all the issues. I really don't. I put a lot of that on the front office, and we'll see what the owner does. I have no faith, but
we'll see. We'll see. And let me ask you, because I know, one of my cool things, or what got you and I started talking more, was obviously our fandom for the Dolphins a few years back. Was more about the draft and stuff. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the players coming out and all that right now, but
go Dogs. How about that, Josh?
Yeah. How excited are you for the players coming out this year? About this draft class?
So I haven't got to look too deep into this draft class, unfortunately, but I think there's a lot of cool pieces coming in. There's some exciting players coming out, but there's a lot of it's top heavy, I think. So you're going to see like a lot of the big names are going to be near the top of the draft. And the quarterback class, I think, is going to go different than most people think. I don't think Bryce Young is going to go as high as many people think. I don't think the NFL teams are going to be in love with him as much, but I do think there's probably going to be a couple teams that just love him and want him. He's athletic and has a pretty good arm, but I mean, there's a lot to like develop with him. There's a lot going on. Sometimes he reminds me of JP Lossman, whereas like he's smaller, he's athletic, he has a good arm, but it's like put it all together and the right system, right situation. I think he could, but we'll see what happens with him. Not a bad player, but I just don't think teams are as high on him. I think teams are loving the 2024 quarterback draft class a lot better. So we'll see on that. So I think teams will kind of kick the can down the road for that. But I do think there's a lot of talent in this draft. But I think it's going to be more day 2, late round 1. So it actually might play in the Dolphins' favor.
That's why I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Dolphins don't have a first pick in a first round pick." I think they are in prime. They got a second, they got a third, and make it get more draft picks. So I think Miami's in prime position to get some good talent in this draft.
So when you pay attention to the offseason moves and the trades that happen and what the value they give up, it tells you how they feel about that possible draft class coming up. And we saw a lot of trades this year We saw a lot of trades, in the trade deadline. So that tells you this draft class is not as deep or it's more bottom and middle heavy. So where they're willing to have, I'll have a day 2 pick. I'll be fine. So that's, I think it's one of those drafts.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But it's going to be time. As we get close, like I said, I've been working on a draft guide. JPF scouting on his own. We got a lot of cool things in the background, guys that are not live all the time. Sometimes Sean Williams is one of them. Michael Vogel is another guy. They come on once in a while in different things, but they are scouting players. We're gonna have great draft coverage, and of course, with Bret was with me last year doing that. So we're gonna have a cool thing going on. So just keep tabs on that, guys. Until then, we will see you tomorrow. We got Huddle Up and Wait. I think Bottoms Up, Fins Up. I gotta check with Mike. But till then, like, subscribe. Most importantly, fins up.
Fins up.